Muslim women are more prone to burnout because we experience it from multiple sources. So now we're going to talk about why Muslim women are more prone to burnout and why common career advice doesn't work for us. Because this is where we're at. There's multiple things, but I'm going to talk about three major things that cause burnout in Muslim women. Number one is home and cultural pressures. Why are you going back to work? Your priority should be ilmahaga, right?
Yeah, had that too many times.
We don't have the same support system. You can pursue education, you can pursue a career. Like, it's not against the deen, but taqan, right? It's not our culture. And even if you're going to go out and be career woman, you're still the mom, you're still 100% responsible. And we don't talk about it, right? Shh, it's a culture of silence. It was one of those things that we just, silently accept and we don't talk about it. We don't call it out. When I was pursuing surgery, what they used to tell me is, hey, es como lesa.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, es como lesa. Like, who does she think she is? Right? And every time I would have a kid and go back to work, they'd be like, oh, what a waste of time and energy and money, right? All that schooling and all that training only to stay at home and become a housewife. And then I'd go back to work and say, what kind of mother has children and then goes back to work, neglects her children? So that's what we're dealing with. We have home and cultural pressures that we have to deal with. The next thing that we have to deal with, and we also don't talk about, is that comes along with these cultural pressures is you have no support. You can work 20 hours, you can work 60 hours, you can work 80 hours, right? You're still the mother. This is still your responsibility. Cooking, yeah. Like, why are we eating leftover food? Where's the fresh food? These are real things that have happened, not just to me, but to a lot of the women that I work with, right? So zero support at work and at home. And then the other thing that we also face that we don't talk about is, right, whether it's hostile to your faith, your religion, hostile to you as a Black woman, hostile to you as a mother, right? Bias, racism, sexism, all those things, Islamophobia, we deal with that. So these are the unspoken things that we face, but nobody ever talks about. And we just silently suffer through it. Yeah. So what is the impact of all of that? How do we respond? How do we cope? Between the cultural pressures and the home pressures that we face and the lack of support, what do we end up doing to show that we can be a career woman and be motherly and be a woman of our household and this and that? What do we do?
Just try and do all those things simultaneously, like over.
You overwork and you buy into the idea of doing it all, right? And what are you called when you do that?
Yeah, superwoman.
I hate that term. I have so many people refer to me as, oh, you're a superwoman. I'm like, no, don't call me that, please. I'm not a superwoman. Because what are they reinforcing? The idea that you are supposed to do it all, right?
Yeah.
And when I did that, when I tried to be a superwoman, I burned out. I was physically, emotionally exhausted. My body gave out. I couldn't walk. I had horrible back pain. I had to do physical therapy. It is physically impossible. That's why they call it superwoman, because it is humanly impossible, right? And so what do you do when you're in a hostile workplace and you have no support system?
You kind of adhere to everything, like you're the yes person.
You're the yes person, and what do? You sacrifice.
So yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to be victimized, right? You're like, you just keep your head down. You're like, yes, I'll keep doing it. No worries.
And you feel bad for having a child.
You feel bad for being a mom. You're told to feel bad for being a mom. Like, oh, you signed up to do this. I've actually been called selfish for having kids as a surgical trainee. I've been called selfish by both men and women for daring to have children in a busy surgery program like this. So if you don't sacrifice for the workplace and show that you're a team player, you're told you're selfish. You're expected to self-sacrifice. And then what happens when you are going back and forth between a culture that tells you you're a woman, you're supposed to be responsible for your household, what's this career stuff? And you're in a workplace that says, oh, a Muslim woman, yeah, aren't you like submissive? And so what do you feel like? You don't belong in either place, right? You're bouncing back and forth between two worlds that see you as something other than who you are, right? And this is where, guess what comes from?
Imposter syndrome, yeah. Things like wanting to go to work or things like that. You end sort of missing days because you're so stout or calling in sick. You don't know what else to do.
You don't know what else to do because you're stuck between trying to meet this expectation and navigate this hostility and, do everything on your own because you have no support. And so you're overworking, you're self-sacrificing, you're dealing with imposter syndrome. And guess what happens to you? That's where burnout comes from. It's not a time management issue. It's not a personal failure. It's coming from all these different expectations, these cultural pressures. You have no support. You're supposed to do everything by yourself because you're the superwoman. Right? You're supposed to sacrifice for your work. You're supposed to sacrifice for your family, right? You're supposed to navigate these two, different personalities of, oh, you don't belong in the workplace and all this microaggressions, sometimes macroaggressions, right? So no wonder you're burned out. You have multiple faucets. You don't have one faucet that you can control. You have multiple faucets that are overflowing your plate. You can see if you can do something about the support system, right? But you still have all these expectations and all these pressures here. If you fix that, hey, this one's now becoming a problem. You have multiple things coming at you, right?
Yeah.
So this leads to what? Overwhelm, exhaustion, and burnout. At this point, it's like, no wonder. Why wouldn't you be burned out? Any human being, any normal human being exposed to all of that pressure, all of those expectations will burn out. That's why when they see women holding it together, they call her a superwoman, right? Humanly impossible.